Hello and welcome to Soul in Balance. My name's Alesha and I'll be bringing you a report on the full moon in Capricorn. That'll be happening on the 28th of June at 2:53 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Now, with all full moons, it's about releasing. So with this full moon, we need to be releasing and breaking down external and internal structures that are stopping us from being emotionally self-reliant. Where are we still wounded from childhood that we've put up all these structures and defense mechanisms so we don't get hurt? Or where are we projecting our unmet childhood needs onto other people, or structures that we have to defend ourselves or stop ourselves from getting further hurt? So this is a really important full moon, because we all need to be coming back to our own self-reliance, our own self-love, our own self-support and care and nurturing. So at this full moon, it is really important to dive deep into some of that childhood stuff and be that emotional support for yourself while things are kind of crazy on the planet. Okay, so full moon in Capricorn, and this is a pretty special full moon for me because my natal moon is the full moon in Capricorn, and it's going to be right on my moon. So super intense times, and it'll be super intense for everyone else because it is touching our heart space. It is touching our early childhood needs, can be codependency needs that maybe weren't met as a child, and we all suffer from that to certain degrees due to conditioning, society conditioning and things like that. So at this full moon, it's going to be conjunct, well, next to Saturn, and Saturn is like commitment, blocks, structure, security and things like that. So, and it's going retrograde, so that's breaking down internal structures. So with this full moon, we need to be looking at what emotional structures have we been using as a way to survive. So how have we used that to carry on but hasn't been serving us anymore? Like, how do we need to come back to where the sun is in Cancer and be more self-nurturing and more self-reliant, so then we can build healthier structures, healthy emotional structures, so we can be happier, so we can have a better time in life and have better connections with people and better connections with ourselves. So realistically, if we go to the polarity point of the sun in Cancer, where can we love ourselves more? Where can we be more nurturing to ourselves? And especially because Mercury is there too, which is communication. What things do we need to say to ourselves on a daily basis? Could it be getting up in the morning and saying, nice things to yourself, like, I love you, you're awesome, you're so smart, you're so beautiful, you do, everything you do is just magical. So it's, little things like that, going back to that wounding, because we all have been wounded in childhood. We all probably didn't get our codependency needs met. So we've created structures that have served us up until this point, but we don't need them anymore. Like, we're evolving, everybody's evolving on the planet, and we're really having to let go of this old stuff, this old generational stuff that was designed to help us survive back then. But because we're turning into these beings that are more connected and, more magical in a way, we don't really need to keep these old structures anymore. And it also keeps you a prisoner of the past, because you're constantly living in a structure from being wounded. You're not living from a place of, I'm whole within myself, I'm coming from my heart space, and I connect to other people from that point. You're connecting to people in the way of, I'm wounded, I've been hurt, so I'm going to put my heart or my feelings and how I operate in the world in a box, in this security, so I can't further get hurt. And that needs to be broken down at this time. So if you think about it from the standpoint of we've been pretty much living in the emotional dark ages for generations and generations. So our feelings and our needs pretty much went unmet. And that's why it's really important, and why I mentioned in my last video, to all the mums that are actually, you know, meeting their child's needs from an emotional standpoint, you know, nurturing their feelings and who they are as a soul straight off the bat, because it is really important, because we are dealing with a society of traumatized and damaged adults, and because they haven't had their childhood needs met, their emotions weren't met, their nurturing wasn't met, and these adults are operating from a standpoint of I can't have my feelings, or I can't be who I am, because they're not valid, and that is completely incorrect. And if I could say to everyone, especially the people that didn't get their childhood needs met, that are really traumatized, that your feelings are perfectly fine and they're perfectly valid, and no matter how you feel, you are accepted. And you know, and it is harder for the people that, you know, had a bit of a rough childhood, that you do that for yourself. You give yourself that nurturing, you know, like say to yourself, like be that mother for yourself. And, you know, when things come up, and say it's okay to be angry, it's okay to have your feelings, it's okay to, you know, be emotionally unstable today, and look at the reasons why it's okay to be that, and, you know, why it's important that we have our feelings and they're not buried and pushed down. And even from a metaphysical point of view, when you don't release those emotions, they store in the body and create illness, and, you know, make that part of the body weaker, and even the cells that are forming are deformed cells, which create things like cancer, which create things like broken bones and illnesses, and all the things that we see in the world today. But we're so disconnected from our feelings, and it's not even used in, you know, modern medicine. Feelings and body systems aren't even related. So we really need to be coming out of the emotional dark ages and really realizing how emotions run everything. Our emotions drive everything, and that is why I'm such a big advocate for feelings, because feelings are what make everything happen, and they've just been shut away and put in a box, like how we have been with our feelings for generations and generations. And it's really time that this stuff just comes out, and so we can heal and be more connected to ourselves and people around us. And I think at the moment, it's a really great time to do some inner child work. There's heaps of stuff on the internet, there's heaps of stuff on YouTube. There's a really great guy that I watched when I was dealing with some inner child stuff called John Bradshaw. He's absolutely fantastic, and makes you go into your childhood needs, childhood wounding, and how you didn't get your codependency needs met, and how you weren't accepted as yourself. You didn't have someone looking at you and saying that is perfect, you are perfect just the way you are, you do not have to change, your feelings are completely valid. So yeah, it's a great time to do that inner child stuff and really start looking after that inner child. See it as, you know, you're the parent for your inner child, and go and rescue that child. Go back to your earliest childhood moment where you can like remember yourself in your first home and how you were by yourself, and how you go and pick yourself up and say, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm going to look after you now. And always check in with that inner child. Always ask if that inner child is okay. Just recently, I think it was like a month ago, I went to a party and I was really emotionally traumatized. I had some stuff going on at home, and I really wasn't in a good place to be socializing or anything like that. But I just thought, no, all right, little Alesha, you just, you know, just be quiet for now. I'll come back and I'll help you later. But no. No, that inner child does not want to be put in a box and does not want to be told feelings or her feelings were not valid. So it is really, really, really important to always be checking in with that inner child. What does that inner child need? How is that inner child feeling? What nurturing does that inner child need? So really, it is a really great time to be doing inner child work. Start loving that inner child, because that inner child is beautiful and that inner child is you. Okay, so the hot topic in the cosmic weather at the moment is Mars retrograde in Aquarius. Now, from what I know, this doesn't happen very often, and it's very rarely that Mars goes retrograde in Aquarius. So Mars goes retrograde every 2.5 years, and it is quite an intense time, as Mars represents our desires and what we're going for. And we're probably going to see people that are very driven in their Mars, very external about getting their desires and getting what they want. They're going to see a bit of a breakdown here. So the things that they're going for are kind of going to have a lot of blocks or just not work out. And that is so we kind of have a think about and re-go over, is that the direction we really want? Is that desire that we're going for really going to serve us? Is it really serving us as a collective? Because if we look at what Aquarius is, it is the collective. It is an objective view and what's best for everyone. And if our desires are just meeting our unmet needs or our voids, or do you know what I mean, not helping us as a society, we're going to get blocks and we're going to have breakdowns, and that's going to cause a lot of anger, and there's going to be a lot of frustration out on the planet. Like, even personally, the last couple of days, like, I go to the lake near my house, and even all the birds have been fighting, like all the male birds, like the swans. I go and see the swans a lot down at the lake, and they've been fighting. And just this morning I saw birds fighting, you know, in the trees. So it's a bit of an intense time. There is a lot of aggression and anger coming up, because what we want, our desires and what we're going for, are kind of having a bit of a breakdown. If you're somebody that doesn't really have much of an external Mars, or you don't really go for your desires that much, this could actually be a good time for you, because this is probably going to stir you up to then go for your desires. But for the people that are overstimulated with going for their desires and trying to grab things just to fill a void or just for themselves and not thinking of the collective, there's going to be a bit of a breakdown here. But that is also we evolve. It's not because the universe just wants you to suffer and not have your needs met. It's literally because it's not serving you and it's not serving the collective. So at this time, take a step back, have a look, is what you're going for right now, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's emotions, whether it's with friends, or whatever aspect of your life. What are you going for? What desires do you have that aren't actually fulfilling you, that aren't a benefit to us as a society? So we also need to look at this as the masculine. And because it's at the South Node, we're dealing with some of the stuff the way the masculine has been operating for generations and generations. And as we all know, the masculine is wounded. So when the feminine was wounded, when the feminine was oppressed, that also affected the masculine, and the masculine operated in ways that did not serve us either. So we need to be looking at and releasing old ways that masculine has been operating. Has the masculine been operating from a heart space? Has the masculine been in its divine masculine? So the best thing to do is, if you operate for more of a masculine standpoint, how has your masculine been serving you, or how has it been serving the collective, which I said just before as well, which I feel like I'm going over and over. But if you look at this masculine going retrograde at the same time as the full moon in Capricorn opposite the sun in Cancer, you'll probably find that the masculine is operating from a wounded point of nurturing. So it all comes back to our child. It comes back to our inner child and our internal nurturing and structures. So if you can work on that part, work on that inner child, work on that self-nurturing, you'll probably find it just rolls out to being more healthier desires and more of a healthier masculine. But at this time, the masculine is under review. It is going back and realizing and healing from past stuff. So we need to be going to the polarity point of the North Node, which is in Leo, and Venus is there as well, which is just pointing to our heart space, pointing to our creativity, you know, pointing to be more balanced, because we have had Venus and Mars in opposition this week, and it is still going on, but it is quite wide now. But it is, you know, coming into being that divine masculine, and the feminine needs to be that divine feminine as well, and meeting each other in the middle. There's no more and there's no place for this angry masculine that's living in the dark ages. We all need to evolve, and we all have masculine and feminine within us, but we need to evolve and come from a higher perspective. If we're always looking at things from a subjective point of view, like an eye level point of view, where all you can see is your feet, you can't see a higher perspective and what's going on and what you really need, this is a really great time. And yeah, the next 2.5, I think it's 2 months, is going to be pretty tough. It's going to be tough for all of us, not just the masculine. So at this time, really take a big think about, is what you're going for, are your desires actually fulfilling you? And if they're not, all right, fantastic, that's one checkpoint. Is it fulfilling a void where you've got a void and you're not filling that with yourself? Do I need to be going and working on my inner child stuff? Do I need to be nurturing myself? And then how, from that place, how can I have desires and needs and passions that are more serving myself and more serving the collective, so I can do my bit for the planet? Because like I have said in previous videos, we are all here on a hero's journey. It's a really, really tough time to be on the planet. And hey, how you've survived and how you are surviving is completely valid, and it's just time now to evolve. It's time to let go of that old programming. It's time to be who your soul really is. Like, your wounding and all these things and all these ways that you operate is not you. It is just the old structure, the old way that you have survived from, you know what I mean? It could be from nurturing, it could be from early childhood stuff. It could be that you were influenced by other males in your life that made you disrespect women or not operate from a place of love. There's so many things that need to change, and we all need to change. We all need to reevaluate our desires and what direction we're going. So depending on where that falls in your birth chart, so what house, it will determine what area of life. So if that falls in your first house, so that could be a breakdown of how other people see you. So it could be the mask you wear in society and how you go about getting what you want. Maybe there's a breakdown there and that mask falls off and you can't operate the way you are anymore. You have to come home to yourself and start loving that person and loving that broken parts of yourself, so then your desires can be more fulfilling, so they can fulfill us as a whole and as a collective. It could be in your 4th house and how you connect to your family. It could be work, it could be your 10th house and how you operate with getting your goals and your career. So it really does come down to where it's falling in your birth chart, but all in all, we are going to be affected by Mars retrograde at this time, and it is going to be a big deal, so brace yourself. We also have Jupiter squaring the nodes, South Node in Aquarius and North Node in Leo, and this has been happening for some time. But we've also had the added influence of Venus and Mars being in the picture. So if we look back at what Jupiter in Scorpio, when that went about, we had things like the Me Too movement, all these people coming out about sexual trauma and sexual abuse, and then it went retrograde, and then it started expanding internally with these situations, and that's making aspects out now to Venus and Mars, which is the masculine and feminine. So at this time we could also be healing sexual trauma related to here, especially in relation to the family, because the full moon and the sun axis is in the home. So we could be, you know, experiencing feelings or having to go through feelings of sexual trauma related to the home. So look, there's a lot going on, and especially with the South Node and Mars going retrograde over there at the South Node, we are going to be seeing, you know, a lot of men, you know, having a bit of a review on how they have addressed sexual experiences with women. There's a lot of men that just haven't been aware of what they've done, or realized that that's just not what you do, or being respectful of women. Like just recently we've had a young lady in Melbourne, she was sexually assaulted and then murdered. So it's a really big topic, and I just feel like this is a really great time for a lot of people that identify more with the masculine to really go in and see how the masculine has been abusive. Like, I don't want to point fingers at anyone. I don't want the masculine to think that I'm pushing all the blame onto them, because that is not true. We're all victims of victims, and usually people that have hurt other people have been victims themselves. But it is still a good time to go back and review what sexual traumas happened to you, and how your sexual experiences could have affected or could affect other people. So realistically, we need to be taking a big look at where we need to evolve on both gender spectrums. We need to be seeing more of the divine feminine and more of the divine masculine, and meeting each other from that place. And with all this stuff going on, you know, it really does push all these issues to the surface. So it is quite an intense time. And we've also got Pluto opposite Mercury. So it is quite wide, and it has been going on for the week. But we have been having, you know, like hidden feelings come to the surface, communications that have really triggered something within us, that have really hit home to some of the pain that we have. And what Pluto is, it wants us to transform that pain into something beautiful. It wants it to transform into something new that helps you evolve. So at this time, with all these current issues going on globally and with our own hearts, it really is a great time to transform our own pain and our own situations in life into something that we can, you know, how we can serve other people and serve ourselves, and turn into the magnificent beings that we actually really are. So at this full moon, I'd just like to say another quick note that how you treat yourself, how you nurture yourself, and how you show up for yourself is how other people will do that for you. So if you skip out on yourself, if you don't nurture yourself and be that support for yourself, you'll find that everyone in your life is a mirror. Everyone is reflecting back at you your pain. So until you heal that, you're always just going to have that mirror thrown back in your face of how much you're skipping out on yourself, how much you're not supporting yourself, because everyone else will mirror that back to you. So at this time, really go into some childhood stuff, really be that nurturing support, that 100% self-reliance that you need. Don't project that onto other people anymore. Anything external from ourselves cannot fill that void, only we can. And then when you fill your cup from there, that's when you can give to other people. So have a magical full moon in Capricorn, and many soul journey blessings.